Welcome to the 8th Annual Girls in STEM Conference, hosted virtually this year at Hudson Valley Community College and co-sponsored by the Center for Economic Growth. It's our pleasure to welcome Danni Washington to Hudson Valley Community College. Hi, I'm Kayla Miller, and I'll be one of your moderators for today's chat. I'd like to introduce Taunya Hannibal-Williams, my co-moderator. Taunya Hannibal-Williams is the Community Outreach Specialist in the Office of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion at Hudson Valley Community College. Taunya has a Bachelor of Arts degree in Psychology from Canisius College, a Master of Arts degree in Criminal Justice from SUNY Albany, and a Juris Doctor from SUNY at Buffalo Law School. Taunya, prior to coming to the college in 2020, she worked at SUNY Schenectady Community College, and she worked at the New York State Bar Association. And she also worked as an educator, an independent educator, creating anti-bias dance, music, and STEM enrichment classes. Her favorite pastime is singing intercontinental fusion music.
Well, thank you, Kayla, so much for the introduction. I'd like to return the favor and tell folks about you. So Kayla Miller is a social impact entrepreneur with a degree in biomolecular sciences. In 2019, she founded STEM King and Queens, an organization creating science, technology, engineering, math, and entrepreneurship workshops for students in K through 12, with a focus on real-world applications and the contributions of historically underrepresented people in those fields. She's held her workshops at Siena College, Albany City School District, and throughout the Capital Region. Additionally, Kayla is the Technical Assistant in Hudson Valley Community College's Office of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion.
Thank you, Taunya. Our trailblazing keynote speaker hails from Miami, Florida, and is a fierce advocate for our oceans. At just the age of 6, she told her mom that she wanted to be a marine biologist, and sure enough, that's exactly what she became, graduating from the University of Miami with a Bachelor of Science degree in marine science and biology. By age 21, she co-founded the Big Blue and You with her mom, a nonprofit organization that educates children on marine science and ocean conservation. Along with educating children through her nonprofit, she's been able to take her message nationally as a science communicator, notably becoming the first African-American to host her own science television series, Xploration Nature Knows Best. Recently, she was featured as a correspondent on CBS's 2-time Emmy-nominated show, Mission Unstoppable, inspiring the next generation of girls and young women to engage in STEM. Here's a video detailing more about Danni and her journey. Let's take a look.
It's food for 1 billion people, and science, technology, engineering should. I think every single human being on this planet should recognize their connection to the ocean, because we depend on the ocean to survive. It controls the climate, it provides food for 1 billion people, and science, technology, engineering, and math, all of these concepts are really just explaining what's already happening in nature. Nature has all of the answers, we just have to find out what they are. I'm Danni Washington. I'm an ocean advocate, science communicator, and lover of life. At 6 years old, I told my mom, I looked her in the eyes and I said, "Mom, I want to be a marine biologist."
I had a crazy dream, and that dream was to become a marine biologist. Yes, this Jamaican-American girl from Miami, yeah, I wanted to be a marine biologist.
It was a total mystery, but yet it seemed like an adventure that I needed to have. And from the moment I learned what that was it. I was sold. This started back in 2008 when I was first hired by a group called Untamed Science. And we made 200 videos all about K through 12 science for textbooks that are still in classrooms today.
I found Danni on YouTube. We were looking for a host for a new science show that I was developing. And after scouring for weeks and weeks, I don't know how, but I came across her video and she was just magic the moment that I found her.
I understood that I had a niche to fill. I saw that there was an empty space really for science communication. I wouldn't say that I'm a traditional marine biologist. What it boiled down to is that I needed to communicate. I wanted to do outreach, but in a different way. So those ideas kind of culminated. I started a nonprofit with my mom called Big Blue and You. And over the last 9 years, we've used Big Blue and You as a platform to give young kids the opportunity to meet the ocean and to fall in love with the ocean using art as a medium. Now I'm hosting a show on Fox called Xploration Nature Knows Best, which I'm so excited about because it's all about innovation and tech that's inspired by nature. This is one of the reasons why science is so cool.
Welcome back to Nature Knows Best. With just a little bit of help from nature, we can easily improve some of our favorite physical activities.
It's more of a creative path where I've found ways to communicate that science that these marine biologists are collecting and transferring that into a way that the general public can understand, especially young people, and giving them this intersection where any science concept can be explained in a fun and engaging way. That's my job. You see the spark and you're like, whoa, what is this? How did I not know about this? That moment of wonder and awe is what I live for. Whether it's studying science, technology, engineering, and math, all of these concepts are really just explaining what's already happening in nature. If we took more notes from the natural world around us, we would be in a better place.
STEM needs everyone, and everyone needs STEM. I think science, technology, engineering, and math can only be pushed further by including influences from people who bring a new perspective to the table. We never want to put a pair of glasses on someone and call them a scientist. We think scientists come in all shapes, sizes, ages, races, and we just want to make sure they're all represented in our programs to the extent that it's possible.
Diversity in STEM is extremely important because as a human race, we have such a broad pool of knowledge.
And you need to bring in people who think differently. And in order to do that, you have to include everyone who hasn't always been in those circles. And that's how we'll move forward. That's how we'll push boundaries. That's how we'll innovate.
So welcome, Danny. Tell
Thank
us
you so
about,
much.
yeah, tell us about what it was like growing up in Miami, the sights, the sounds, the culture, things like that.
Oh my gosh. Well, first of all, I just want to say thank you so much to all of you for being here today. I know it's a Saturday and you took time to hang out with us, and I really appreciate it. And I definitely want to thank everyone here on the panel for hosting me as well. So yeah, I grew up in Miami and it was a great place to be as a child. I think my exposure to different cultures and different ethnicities really helped me understand a more global perspective. And of course, our beaches, beautiful. They're absolutely gorgeous. People travel from all over the world just to hang out on Miami Beach. And I had that kind of in my backyard, not directly, but of course I could go visit with my family. And that's exactly what we did. So from when I was a baby until I was, in high school, college, like going to the beach was my pastime, my favorite pastime. And by going to the beach, it exposed me to the ocean itself. And that's where that curiosity began for me. And, thankfully I had really awesome parents. I have awesome parents who were willing to let me follow my passion and didn't just tell me, okay, go get a job, make money, and that's the end of it. No, they were like, what do you really love? What sparks your interest in school? Like, what's exciting for you? And so they did everything they could. They didn't quite understand it at first. A lot of my family was like, you want to swim with what? You want to swim with sharks? And they just like, okay, well, go ahead and do that. And I normally have to tell my family after the fact when I do things like that. I'm like, yeah, swim with whale sharks or giant manta rays. But at this point, they really respect it and they respect my passion. And I truly appreciate that, because I believe that everyone, if you can find that thing that you're truly passionate about and you know that you have this certain set of skill sets and gifts that are innately within you, and you apply it to that passion, you're going to fulfill your purpose on this planet. And I think that if everyone did that, if everyone was willing to be brave enough to say, this is what I love, and I want to contribute, I want to serve the world doing this work, I believe every need would be fulfilled.
That's awesome. So for those of us who don't live near a body of water, how can we do our part in ocean conservation?
Oh, there's so much you can do as someone who may not live near water. It's interesting though, because around the world, over 70% of the population, the global population, lives near a coastline. So there's a reason for that. water is a place, obviously it's life. Number one, we need water. We can't survive more than 3 days without drinking water. But water also offers so many other intrinsic benefits. So a friend of mine and mentor named Dr. Wallace J. Nichols, he wrote a book called Blue Mind a few years ago. It's a New York Times bestseller. Highly recommend you check it out. But he was a marine biologist who was studying sea turtles, and then he moved his research into learning more about the neuroscience behind people and our affinity for water. So what were the benefits psychologically, emotionally, to be in, near, or around water? And I, for one, can definitely attest to the fact that water is a rejuvenating thing for me whenever I get to the ocean, or even if I'm sitting on the shore of a lake or near a stream. Just being in the presence of water gives me so much energy. And so if you're living inland, like maybe your water looks like a lake, maybe your water is a creek, but no matter what, all of that water is connected. Every single drop of water on the planet is connected. And thanks to the ocean, we're able to receive rain and have all these resources brought to us. But not only does the ocean provide fresh water and things that we need on land, but it also provides food for over 1 billion people. It maintains our climate. And it's truly the source of solutions for us when we're dealing with the climate crisis. There are just a plethora of things that we can look to in the ocean that will help us resolve many of the things that we're dealing with right now. So yeah, so wherever you are, and especially when it comes to protecting the ocean, you can reduce your single-use plastic consumption. That's number one. That's a huge way to help the ocean. Number two, you can look at composting and gardening, because right now we're dealing with an issue with carbon in the atmosphere, and the ocean is the carbon sink, and it's absorbing all this carbon for us, but it's reached its tipping point, and now we need to help pull some of that carbon out of the atmosphere through the activities we do on land.
Okay, thank you for that insight.
Welcome.
So I am so amazed that at age 6, you knew that you wanted to be a marine biologist. So this is a twofer. So do you remember at all what were some of the experiences that you had around that age that you think maybe sparked that interest? And then maybe share some of your mentors in your family or in the community or in the world around that time that were there for you. And who are some of your mentors now?
Thanks for that question, Taunya, or both questions. They're awesome. So the first part, I would say not everyone knows exactly what they want to do when they're really little. Like I felt very lucky in that I felt a sense of clarity about it. But like all kids, we can switch ideas. We can say, I want to be this, and the next day we want to be this. The point is that you should keep and maintain your curiosity. So I was a very curious young person. I was always asking questions to the annoyance of my parents, but like, that's why they gave me books, and they'd be like, okay, here, read this, and then that'll answer your question. So that was the first step. And also exposure to different summer camps and volunteer opportunities. I remember volunteering at the Humane Society because I loved animals, or working at a local summer camp and volunteering with younger kids to help, teach them about marine science. All these things are opportunities that you have to seek out for yourself, and then hopefully leverage the people in your life that can support you, the adults who can put you in those positions, and you have to create that opportunity for you. And thankfully, when I was growing up, I didn't have the internet like you all do today. You have access to people all over the world. You could send an email and meet somebody and within seconds, like it's crazy. So I just say, do your homework, do some research, figure out where you can get these opportunities to learn more about the thing that you love and to actually put it into practice. And that's really the beginning part. And then as far as mentors are key. That's the number one thing that I say whenever someone asks me, what's the secret sauce? What's the secret? It's mentors. Mentors are important because they will point you in the right direction. Mentors are not there to do the work for you. They're there to open up a door for you and then show you the opportunity, show you the possibilities. And then it's your job to step through that door and do the work. And once you do that, you'll see how there's like a domino effect, and one opportunity will open up after the other as you continue to put forward your best effort in whatever you're doing.
Thanks, Danny.
Welcome.
You have a bachelor's of science degree in marine science and biology. So when you chose these majors, what did you think you were going to do as a career? And how did you become a science communicator?
It's a great question, Kayla. So when I got to college, when I made it to the University of Miami, I worked really hard in high school to maintain grades. I wasn't one of those students who just easily could get straight A's like that. I had to work for it. And I was a student athlete, so it was a lot of balance, trying to make sure I did both. But in the end, it was worth it because of my grades. I was able to find scholarships that allowed me to go to UM. Otherwise, my family wouldn't have been able to pay for that private university fee. So I really had to focus in on that in high school. But by the time I finished undergrad, I went through my undergrad Bachelor of Science degree at UM, studying marine science and biology, a double major. I learned and figured out for myself that I had other skills in communications. And when I had conversations with people in my community, my neighbors, my friends, some of my family, I recognized that many of them had no idea how important the ocean is to their daily lives. And so for me, it was like, whoa, this is a huge disconnect. How can I bridge that gap? And so I thought back to when I was a kid, and I remember watching Bill Nye the Science Guy on TV. I would religiously watch his show after school. It was one of my favorite things on TV. And I remember loving his enthusiasm, his creativity, the way that he explained science made it so accessible for me as a child. So he was kind of that North Star at that point. And then I said, well, I guess I need to be like a TV host so I can reach more people that I don't know, that maybe I would never meet in real life. And that was the goal from there. And so, yeah, I could talk more about that part of the journey if you'd like, but yeah, it took about 10 years to really get to this kind of place that I really feel as a successful science communicator.
Wow, that's awesome.
So let's explore the fun side of Danni Washington. So you travel all over the world for your job. So what are some of the places that are your favorite that you visited? And then when you're not on the set, what do you do for hobbies?
So that's the best part of my job is to travel. Obviously, in light of the pandemic, I haven't been able to do that as frequently as possible, but hopefully that'll change soon. Traveling it gives me life because I love being in new places, meeting new people, being exposed to new culture and food. Of course, I love food. That I really enjoy that part of my job. And when I first got started in 2008 with the group Untamed Science, we were making videos for textbooks. So we were traveling around the US and going to different cities and meeting people. And that was a lot of fun. By the time I finished that and started working on another project called Ocean Gems, then we started traveling around the world. So I got to go to Papua New Guinea with them, which is on, near Australia. I went to Ecuador to swim with giant manta rays, Mexico to swim with whale sharks. And so that international travel bug really bit me early. In fact, in high school, right after high school, summer of after my senior year, I went to South Africa for the first time to work with a researcher out there who's researching great white sharks. So that was a big moment. And that was where it all began for me. It was like, travel is life. And then, what do I do for fun? Honestly, I love watching movies. I really enjoy, of course, going to the beach is like my number one, paddle boarding. And I also love hiking. I just like to be out in nature as much as possible. That's really my favorite pastime.
Great, thanks.
So what would you describe as the most pressing issue in marine science and biology?
There are a lot of pressing issues. And so marine science and biology is great because it's the field of STEM that you can study the processes and life and all life in the ocean, essentially. When you're a marine biologist, you're studying life in the ocean. There's so much that we don't know about the ocean still. Less than 7% has been explored by human beings. We haven't been down to the depths. Only a couple of people have. And, we're on this big race to get to Mars at this point. And it's like, wait, we haven't even, explored our own planet. We don't understand the intricacies yet. And I would say the biggest issue is dealing with the climate crisis, and looking at the ocean as a solution is a big step, because the ocean for a lot of people is out of sight and out of mind. So this is not something that they're thinking about on an everyday basis, especially if you live inland. It just seems like doesn't apply to me, it's not really a part of my life. But that's not true. The ocean is an integral part of your life. Every second breath that you take, whenever you're breathing, the ocean helped provide that. These little tiny microscopic plants called phytoplankton at the surface produce oxygen for us. It's equivalent to the same amount of oxygen that's produced on land by trees. And so we have to do our best to connect with the ocean. And that's really what the essence of my job is. I want to be the conduit, the catalyst that brings people to realize this connection, and then also want to take action, because the way that nature takes care of us, it's the least that we can do to take care of nature. Like this is our life support system here. And there's a captain that uses this analogy all the time that I love. It's like, we're on spaceship Earth, we're moving through the universe, you know, and we've got crew members. That's nature. That's the animals and plants that support us. They're making this happen. And we're just passengers. We're just on the spaceship, like, like, but right now we're in the midst of like wiping out all these crew members, like without even thinking about it. And eventually, if the crew members are gone, how are we going to survive? So it's really up to the next generation to step up. But of course, we can't put all the pressure on your generation. That is not fair, because all the actions from the past have created this moment where we are today. But what I will say is that your generation is in the perfect position to be the leaders that we need. You have access to information, you have bright minds, you have new ideas, and we need you to be the innovators, the ones who are going to take that chance and think of those big ideas. Like, we need you. So I would say that's probably the most pressing issue for the ocean right now.
Exactly.
So before I pose my next question, I just want to make two comments. One, we have a youth moderator that will be joining in and asking questions closer to the end of the session. So welcome, Amanda. And also that we have put the link to the video that you saw about Danni in the chat. So you can go and look at that video anytime you'd like. So the next question that I wanted to pose really has to do about the fact that there's an underrepresentation of women and people of color in sciences, just in general. So what do you think we can do to increase the presence of women in marine sciences and biology?
Taunya, that's a great question. What I would say is, when I was getting my degree, this was 12 years ago. So it's been a minute. Things have changed a lot in the last 12 years. But when I was working at, majority of the people in my program were actually women. So we saw a lot of women, a higher majority. But what wasn't different was the tenured professors and folks that were the decision makers in my program. The teachers, everyone there, they were mostly men. So we could see this like generational shift. And I think in the next few years, we're going to see that there will be more women in those tenured positions, but it's going to take time. And when it comes to representation of, especially women of color, Black, Indigenous people of color in this space, there's still so much work that needs to be done. I was one of 2 Black students in my marine science program at UM. And again, like from the beginning, I mentioned Miami is a super diverse city, and it was just shocking to see that was it, but it was just this interest and this access to this form of education. And I know for a lot of students, when you're in high school, when you're in middle school, like you have to work with what you have. Wherever you're growing up, like this is what you have access to at this point. But once you get to college, it's like the world opens up to you. So how do you create like more opportunities for yourself? You got to put in the work. You got to put in the work and follow what makes sense for you. And there are lots of grant opportunities out there. There's lots of funding that you can access, but again, you have to go find it for yourself. And that's really the most challenging thing, I think. But if we put in that effort and again, find mentors that can point you in the right direction, we can really change that disparity in representation. And for me, I chose to work in television because of that very fact. I just wanted to make sure that young people out in the world who happen to watch my show know that this is possible for them too. No matter where you're from, no matter how much melanin you have in your skin, like STEM is for you. And I want you to join in this like movement, because STEM is the future. That's truly, all of these disciplines are going to push us into the sustainable and just world that we need. And so, yeah, we're at a really interesting place, I think, in human history, where we can take this quantum leap into a better world.
Thank you. That was so inspirational. Thanks, Danni.
You're welcome.
I had a similar experience in college too. I was one of 3 Black women in my biomolecular sciences program, so that's super relatable. Can you tell us about some of the different bodies of water that you've swam in across the world? And what are the notable differences between them, like saltwater, freshwater, and the different kinds of species that live in them?
Oh my gosh, yeah, so many differences. Every location is unique. Exploration is a key part of my work. I love being able to go into new spaces and learn more. And so when it comes to bodies of water, of course, scuba diving in the ocean is my favorite because I mean, every time I dive, there's nothing is exactly the same. It's always going to be different. My favorite locations that I've dove in already would be like Papua New Guinea. That was a huge experience because it's one of the wildest places I've ever been. It's not developed like most other island nations to become like a tourist destination. That may have changed now, but when I was there were a handful of resorts and you couldn't even see the resort. Like we were on a live aboard boat, which is a boat that you'd live on for a week and scuba dive every day. So the crew there, they help you and they fill your tanks and like you dive 4 or 5 times a day. Wake up, you dive, eat, you dive, you come back, you sleep, you dive. And it's the best. I loved it. But yeah, no one else was out there with us. And so it felt like we had the entire space to ourselves, which was beautiful. But in terms of freshwater, one of my favorite places to snorkel, and I'm a little ashamed to say this because I'm from Florida and I've never done it before, but a couple years ago, when I was filming one of the segments for CBS Mission Unstoppable, we went to Ruth B. Kirby Gilchrist State Park, which is one of the freshwater springs that we have in like Central Florida. There's a whole network of springs. And when you go in that water, it is amazing. It's crisp, it's cool, it's crystal clear. And there are lots of different aquatic plants, little turtles that live in the freshwater, but that water is coming up from our aquifer underground. And so that's what makes the temperature so cold, but the water is pristine. And it was one of the best experiences I've ever had.
Oh, that's awesome.
So Danni, do you have a favorite marine animal?
That's a hard question. I honestly, from when I was very young, I've always been in love with orcas, killer whales. And it's pretty normal. I share the same love with a lot of people around the world because they're beautiful, they're intelligent, they're powerful. And when I was a kid, the movie Free Willy came out when I was around 8 or 9 years old. And that movie changed my perspective because up until that point, I thought I was going to be a whale trainer. Like that was my first idea of what I wanted to do because I just wanted to hang out with orcas. But then once I watched that film, I realized, no, captivity, this isn't it. These animals deserve to be out in the wild. They shouldn't be in tanks for our entertainment. And so, yeah, they're definitely my favorite. But honestly, one of the coolest animals in the ocean would be the mantis shrimp. One of the segments on Nature Knows Best, we went to a lab that studied mantis shrimp. They have one of the fastest striking events in nature, where they have these little claw-like clubs. And the way that they get their prey is they like use their arm and they strike like the shell of a snail and it'll crack open the snail. It's so fast. It moves quicker than a bullet. It's insane that this tiny little invertebrate, literally this big, living at the bottom of the ocean, is doing all of this amazing stuff. And so that's what intrigues me most about the ocean is everything that we don't know, everything that we haven't discovered yet. There are so many things out there that we have yet to find.
So that was actually a question from one of our participants. So thank you for answering that. So my question is, I just would love to hear more about Big Blue and You. What are you doing currently, and maybe some history about how it came to be.
Yeah. So Big Blue and You was a passion project that began when I was 21, and this was right after I graduated from the University of Miami. And serendipitously, I entered a contest with the surf brand Roxy. I don't know if some of you know that brand, but yep. Roxy and Quicksilver. So they haven't done it since. They did a nationwide competition called the Follow Your Heart Tour, where they were asking girls around the US to talk about what they're passionate about. It could have been about anything, art, photography, surfing, whatever. And I saw the ad in my little Teen Vogue magazine that I had at the time. And I was like, you know what? Let me just enter this contest. Let me see what happens. And I asked one of my friends who happened to have a camera. She was a graduate student at the time. And we went out to the beach and filmed this little video of me and my cousins. And we talked about plastic pollution. And I was explaining to them like all these different things at the beach. The video ended up winning and they gave me $10,000. That was the grand prize of that contest. And that's what I used to start Big Blue and You. So it was essentially like startup capital funding to create a business. And I thought at the time a nonprofit would be the best place to start, because it was about service to my community, and they would build a platform. And essentially we started out with the idea that we wanted to just create space for kids, especially young people of color, to connect with the ocean. And now what we do predominantly is host different events, one in particular called Art by the Sea, where we invite artists and scientists, marine scientists, to come out to a day-long festival to celebrate the ocean. But they all create these different hands-on activities. And then we have drumming, dancing, kayaking, paddleboarding. Like, I cannot wait till we can do that in person again. The last one we did was 2018, and we had over 2,000 people show up in Miami for this event.
Well,
So,
I'm coming to
yeah.
the next one. I'm coming to the next
You're
one,
all
Danny.
invited. You're invited.
Yeah, I'm in.
Excellent.
Yes, but if you want to join and like learn more about Big Blue and You, feel free to go to our website. It's bigblueandyou.org, and we actually have a new initiative called Big Blue Crew, where we're inviting people who care about the ocean, young people who want to just get involved and get access to volunteer opportunities, remotely for now, to get involved with ocean conservation. So you can sign up. There's like a form there, and you just fill it out, and it'll send it over to us, and we'd love to have you a part of our community.
Great. Thanks, Danny.
You're welcome.
So I'd like to introduce our youth moderator, Amanda Rundell. Amanda is an 8th grade student at Guana Middle School, and that's part of the Shenendehowa Central School District. For a career, Amanda wants to be an astronautical space engineer, and she wants to work for a company such as SpaceX, either developing rovers or developing new food to go into space.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm thrilled to be able to be a moderator. My first question is, what was the most rewarding experience you had presenting to young girls interested in STEM?
Oh, wow. So there have been many. I would say the most memorable was probably when I was at the USA Science and Engineering Festival back in 2018. I served as a spokesperson for that festival, and it's the nation's largest STEM fest. We had over 360,000 people show up over the course of 3 days to the convention center in Washington, D.C. And I met so many young women who were excited about STEM and just had all of these different ideas of what they want to do. And for me, that's the most fulfilling part of my job, when I get to meet young women like yourselves who are doing big things and have big dreams. And the main point for me is recognizing your curiosity and the fact that you're pursuing something different than what might be expected of you. And my thing is, I always want to share that I'm super proud of young girls who do that, because I see myself in you. That's exactly where I was back when I was 15, 13, all wondering what was next. How can I do what I love? And it was because of role models that I found, through the course of my journey, that really helped pull me along and gave me the inspiration and the courage to go after my dreams. And so I hope everyone watching today, I hope that you feel that same way, that you know for sure that whatever you're dreaming about right now, whatever you're hoping to do in the future, that you can achieve it. You have to just apply yourself. And as women, we have to work a little bit harder, unfortunately, because that's the time that we live in. But it's not impossible. And you can achieve it. You can do whatever you set your mind to do.
Yeah, that's really inspiring. Once girls are interested in STEM, how do you propel them forward and encourage them to be proud of being a girl in STEM?
Well, once you're interested, it's, again, like going back to what we spoke about in the beginning, it's about finding your mentors. Like from the start, it doesn't matter how old you are, find a mentor. And what you'll find is that over the course of your journey, you're going to meet different mentors. I'm still finding new mentors all the time. And I realized I didn't answer that question. When I've got mentors that are in my life right now that are helping me along, and they're from different fields, not just STEM. I have mentors who work in television production, so that I can learn from them and how to be a better host and how to be more business minded when it comes to the things that I'm involved in. And then I also have mentors who are scientists, like my friend Dr. Erica Woolsey, who she's a coral biologist, but her organization, the Hydrus, uses virtual reality to bring people underwater to experience the ocean. And so she's combining this amazing world of tech and VR and AR to bring this message of the ocean to people. And so she's a huge mentor of mine. And we just started a podcast together back in February called 21st Century Mermaids. So if you want to listen to that podcast, I highly recommend it. It's wherever you listen to podcasts, it's available, but we interview different women from around the world who are contributing to the Decade of Ocean Science for Sustainable Development, which is a decade established by the United Nations, and it starts this year.
Thank you. Have you ever been treated differently by other marine biologists because you are a woman? And if so, how did it make you feel? And how did it change your outlook going forward?
Oh, yeah. There have been so many instances of just feeling different and feeling discriminated against that I've lost count. But it's like learning how to let it roll off your back, because at the end of the day, a lot of people who will come toward you or come at you or attack you or think because you're different, it's something to do with them. That it's something that's missing within them that they're projecting onto you. And it really takes a lot of mental strength and mental discipline to not absorb that from other people and to believe that this is a reflection of who you are. That's not who you are. People will do this because they didn't accomplish something, because they couldn't achieve it themselves. They'll tell you that you can't. But you've got to really be focused to just continue on your track on what you decided to do and to stick with it. And of course, it like makes you feel horrible at first. It's not fun to feel discriminated against. And people will see me and be like, no, she doesn't know what she's talking about. She's not smart. Like, she doesn't know. I've felt it time and time again. And unfortunately, this is something that I think we will all probably go through at some point. But again, if you have that mental discipline, if you really build yourself internally as you continue to start for the car, build your confidence. That's all work that you can do yourself. And I know I'm rambling a little bit, but I'm trying to get to the point that if you know who you are and you continue to build and receive love from the people that are in your life that you love, stick with that. Keep your circle close, because those people they'll lift you up, and just focus on them and keep going.
Thank you. And you are such a strong person, and I think will be a huge role model for everyone here. And now Danni has a special treat for us.
Yes, I do. Okay. So with Big Blue and You, we have some really cool reusable sets of utensils that we generally give to folks who are, a part of our organization. And so today I want to give away 3 burritos. This is what we call a burrito. The reason why I want to give this away is because for those of you who are concerned about plastic pollution and what's happening in our ocean when it comes to like marine debris, the first step, the biggest thing that you can do to help the ocean is to move and transition to reusables. So taking something like this with you wherever you go is massive. So this has 3 different utensils, a spoon, fork, and a knife, as well as some chopsticks. And then it has 2 straws in there. They're metal straws. One is larger for like smoothies and boba, and then this is a normal one, plus a little cleaner. And so I would love to send 3 of you in this webinar a burrito, but not just for nothing. I've got 3 questions that I want to ask, trivia questions. So the first person to answer each question in the chat, get your hands ready, okay, will receive a burrito. So I've got 3 questions for you. So here's the first one. Name the deepest point on the planet, which is about 35,802 feet down. There's a specific name of this place and this is a tough one. Let's see who has it. But it's the deepest point on planet Earth. Boom, done. I love it. I think I see, Olivia got it first. Mariana Trench. Excellent. That is the correct answer. All right, so we'll take a note for Olivia Rose. The second question, here we go. And I mentioned this earlier, so I gave a little bit of a hint. What are the microscopic marine plants in the ocean that are responsible for nearly 70% of the atmosphere's oxygen? Oh, we're close. I don't see the answer just yet. There's a specific name. You got to get the whole answer. Okay, there we go. You can see it. So the correct answer is phytoplankton. Yes, there it is. I think I'll let you all double check the chat, but I see that answer there. Perfect. Yep. Thank you all so much. Okay, and then the last question. super easy. I think this will be fast. What's the largest animal on planet Earth? And actually the largest animal that ever lived on planet Earth. All right, there it is. I see it. Blue whale. Blue whale, yes. I saw blue whales for the first time in 2019. I went on an expedition to the Galapagos Islands, and we saw about 4 or 5 individual blue whales swimming together off the coast of one of the islands. And they're incredible. They grow to be almost 100 feet long. So imagine going to your high school or your middle school football field and seeing a whale that's the length of the football field in the water. It's like, what? Huge. Well, awesome. Okay, so did we get all the names of the winners there?
I believe so.
Okay, cool. Well, I guess we'll be in contact to get your mailing address, and then I'll be able to send you your burrito. So I hope you enjoy it.
That was so fun, Danni. Thank you so much for spending time with us and sharing your passion for the job that you do and being a role model today. And I want to let folks know that this is being recorded and it will be available to view again coming up in a couple of weeks on the Office of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion's website. And we're going to share it with Danni so she can share it with folks as well. And I want to say a thank you to our co-sponsors, Center for Economic Growth, and to the Workforce Development Institute for their generous contribution, and to all of the Girls in STEM facilitators, the collaborators, and of course the participants who that's why we're doing it for you, and to all the Hudson Valley staff that really helped bring this conference together. Thank you so much. And Danni, best of luck to you. We'll look to see more from you in the future. And to everyone else who's watching, we'll see you next year. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
It was great to be here. Thanks, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Yeah, bye.
Bye.
Amanda, Kayla, you're rock stars. Thank you.
Thank you.